Hello. So today we are ranking characters from MyGO and avemuj. Um, Last time we did the episode, which was good fun, and it's actually getting more views than I thought it would, which is nice. So I guess people want to see these kind of tier lists, which I'm not surprised at really, I guess, because it was something that I wanted to see, so I thought I'd do it myself, because no one else was doing it. And so here we are with characters now. Um, Obviously Mana, Sadaharu, Kyotsuko, and Minami are here as well. Not gonna do them because I don't know. Like I really do like their involvement and their inclusion. Like they really do what their job and what they're supposed to do well. But I can't really talk about them or rank them, especially rank them in comparison to the main cast. And also, I'm doing a 1 to 10 rather than like a proper tier list because with this cast especially, I really do love everyone. So even these low spots, like 6 to 10, I I love them. I mean, just go and maybe I'll put in a thing of my Annie list favorites. You'll see literally all of them there. Actually, no, I won't do that because then it'll spoil who I like. So literally in my Annie list favorites, though, they're all in my favorite character section. So that's how much I like this cast. They're definitely my favorite cast I've ever watched, along with like HBK, Revue Starlight. But even then, I do prefer MyGO as a cast as a whole. I'm quickly going to just do my character ranking before Mujica because I do remember it. So number 10 before Mujica was probably Nyamu and Umari. They're probably down there, number 9 and 10. Before Mujica kind of didn't get anything of them. Then Rana, definitely. Probably that way around actually. Then probably Taki. Then, which is funny because I've literally done a whole fucking video on Taki. These aren't numbers. There we go. Then Tomori. Then top 5 is hard. Then weaker. Then then Mutsumi, then Sakiko, then Soyo, and number 1, Anon herself, of course. This is my top 10 before Mujica Ed. Obviously not going to talk about that much, but yeah, just for a comparison and for, because why not? I'm really making a mess of this, but whatever. Okay, let me move these guys to the back. Okay, so number 10. And as much as I regret to put her there, because like I said, I really do love all these characters a ridiculous amount, and number 10 doesn't mean that they're bad or anything like that. I still really love them. It is unfortunately Rana, but I'm almost certain that will change once the fucking movie comes out on digital, because oh my god, it's almost been a year since it aired. Well, hasn't it aired? It aired in I think September of last year. So it hasn't been that long. But I'm pretty sure the Blu-ray is meant to be coming out soon, so we should get that. And that'll give us backstory. I know it's already out on the Japanese Bang Dream Garupa, but I'm not really interested in experiencing that backstory first time through the game because it's just an inferior medium. But yeah, that is available if you want to go read it on Best Story translated, fan translated. But yeah, Rana at 10, and despite that, why are you there? Despite that, I really, really love her. Sorry, Lemon, by the way, we're putting her at 10 if he's watching. I know he'll be angry at this, but I really love her character, and I think she doesn't get enough appreciation from the fandom beyond just being comedic and the comedic presence she has. Because while it is very nice to have a character like Rana in a show like this, where it is very gloomy and depressing and dramatic all the time, Rana's really can be there just to alleviate the mood. I also think she's just a fantastically written character, and her dynamic with Tomori, Taki, and Mutamortis in particular is really, really great. And I'll talk more about the dynamics when I do the dynamic ranking, which will probably be the next one of these. But yeah, I really love Rana. Rana with Tomori especially, and how she's attracted to Tomori's music, and to Tomori's. I think I kind of like how she gravitates towards Tomori and her stubbornness a little. And I think it's episode 8 or 9, maybe 9, I'm pretty sure, where when Tomori doesn't kind of put her foot down and is headstrong about decision, Rana basically just walks off, and she's like, not very interesting. Like, I'm not fucking with that. So I really do like how Rana is attracted to that side of Tomori, to the way Tomori expresses her emotions, to the way Tomori is selfish in a lot of ways, and Rana likes that. And Tomori is a character similar to Sakiko, where a lot of characters gravitate around her, but Rana in particular gravitates in a different way to the rest of the cast. And I'm excited to get Rana's backstory, because obviously we're going to get the owner. Obviously we see her mum and dad a little bit, but we don't really know much about her. But she is just as much lost as any other member character, and it's obviously shown figuratively as her being the stray cat, and literally with her being at the space parking lot. It literally does show her lost, but it's not just physically that she is lost. She struggled to find her own place to belong, and MyGO surprisingly was the one to give her a place to belong and give her a place she can call home. She also just fucking rocks. Like, her design's awesome. Her VA, Hinapio, is great. I love her antics on stage. I love her antics in general. She's just super funny, really lightens the mood a lot of the time, and brings just something completely different to the rest of the cast and the rest of the series tonally. And I should talk about her dynamic with Taki as well, and how both Taki and Rana gravitate towards Tomori. And I mentioned this in my Taki video, but Taki, well, I'll talk about Rana. Rana, in contrast with Taki, will get what she wants, and will, no matter the risks or how she's feeling, she will express what she wants and she will get it, compared to Taki, who is hesitant and kind of stagnant in that way. But those wants both revolve around Tomori, and I like the Taki and the Rana Breathing Next to You event is really, really good. If you want more Rana, if you want more Taki, go read that, because it's really, really great. And then there's also Rana's dynamic with Mortis and Mutsumi, and she has a lot of unexpected parallels with Mutsumi in how their family raised them, in their reliance on music, in the way they communicate or don't communicate, as well as how they both gravitate towards our respective protagonists of each series. And I did mention that in a comment of my episode, I think it's 6 reaction, is it? Yeah, 6 is where we first see the Rana, Mortis, Mutsumi stuff. So yeah, they have great dynamics. Those 3 in particular have really cool dynamics with Rana. And unfortunately there isn't a lot outside of that. I think there's lots of potential for good dynamics with Rana of other characters, and I think there's a lot of potential for them to build on the Rana, Mutsumi, Mortis dynamic. But apart from that, she is the weakest member of the cast, I think. And if you don't think that, I'm not gonna knock that opinion, but what she does really, really well. And I mean, I can say this for every character, but I can't imagine the series without her, despite how I'm sure a lot of people, Rana isn't their favourite kind of writing wise or complexity wise, but there's a lot there with Rana that you kind of have to really pay attention and notice, and on rewatches you'll notice more with Rana, just her mannerisms and her general demeanour. There is genuinely a lot there to think about and analyse, but for a lot of people it'll kind of just go over your head, and she's a bit of a comedic character, which is fair enough. Like on a first watch I kind of thought the same. I completely disregarded her when I was talking about her on Twitter after I finished MyGO, but she's great. Like she's really, really great, and I love her. And unfortunately she's a number 10 in this list, but like I said, I still love her despite that. Now at number 9, unfortunately it will be, I keep saying unfortunately as if like I don't like them, but it's just like you think of a ranking 10 and 9, 8 or so on, you don't think positively. But like I said, this is all relevant, because if I did the SA kind of tier list, they'd all just be an S, and all these being saved in my life, so there's no point in doing that. But number 9 is Nyamu. Nyamu's arc, I think, in Mujica is extremely tightly written and handled really well. I think it's as tightly written as Anon's arc in MyGO. I know that comparison does seem weird, but the way they get the focus and the way their kind of focus is really throughout the series rather than honed in on singular episodes, I think is really good and interesting. And above all that, above that kind of perspective, I think what she just brings to avemuj is awesome and really, really needed. She's actually in a similar position to Rana in that aspect, that she shakes things up and she brings a lot of personality in a band that originally didn't have any of that, really. I mean, you think about the first 3 episodes, you have Saki, who's dealing with all her shit, playing her role, just trying to keep the band together and keep things going, and being a bit of an asshole now and again, but she's just kind of the leader, just kind of doing what she can. You have Umari, may as well not exist in those first 3 episodes because she's so disconnected from the band and her peers. You have Wika, who again may as well not exist, doesn't even have any sort of personality or any presence in those episodes whatsoever, apart from the stuff with Saki and her apartment. And basically all Wika does throughout the whole series is just fawn over Saki, and on her own she really isn't that interesting, like screen time wise and like entertainment wise. She really doesn't bring much to the table. And then you have Mutsumi, who again personality wise doesn't have much going on, obviously, until Mortis comes out, and in general isn't that entertaining, even though I think she is, because I kind of love those characters. But you look at those 4 characters and Nyamu really does stand out, and she was well needed in the band, because good god it was miserable, but Nyamu really shook things up and made things exciting and just brought a bit of dynamic. I don't fucking know. You know what I'm trying to say. But she brings a bit of life to the band, a bit of movement, a bit of action, you know what I mean? And like I said, it was well needed, because those episodes were a lot, and a lot of the characters were still in their own shells. They weren't really themselves in those first few episodes, but Nyamu consistently was herself from the start to finish, and I think that's really cool. And her whole arc is really interesting with how she, obviously her whole thing revolves around stardom and fame. She believes Sakiko kind of tricked her into avemuj. Then she sees Mutsumi's acting and just develops an inferiority complex that kind of ruins her whole career, essentially. And she's kind of forced to resort back to avemuj in the end. And on that note, her dynamic with Mutsumi and Mortis is actually one of the maybe the only kind of dynamic I haven't really got a strong grasp on. I think I've rewatched the show recently with a friend, and I still Nyamu Mutsumi Mortis. I still haven't got a very solid grasp of their character arc. I couldn't really express it well to you or analyze it for you, but it's compelling. I know one thing for sure, it is compelling. We see that scene in episode 10. We get the whole thing of Minami in episode 8, and it's just really good. And it was an unexpected dynamic as well, which is cool. But I really did like it. And again, her dynamic with Umari, amazing. She really brought a whole other vibe with Umari that you didn't really get with any dynamics in between characters and the other members of the cast. And like I really do ship them, Nyamu and Umari. Same with Nyamu and Mutsumotis. But Nyamu is just a lot of fun, and she's super expressive. And then, God, what a ridiculous job as your first major voice acting role. I can't praise Akanen's performance enough, because she really brought that character to life, and it needed a great performance because she obviously the dialect and how just loud Nyamu can be and expressive she can be. It needed to be captured properly through the voice acting, and my God, was it. But yeah, Namu, I love her. 2 cats are at the bottom. I'm sorry about that. And then again, like I said, I still really love them and everything they stand for in the series, and everything from their development to their designs to their performances. Like, I can't wax lyrical enough about how much I do love the cast in general. So I'm gonna keep reiterating this, but like, it doesn't really mean anything that they're this low in the ranking. And number 8, we have Umari. So interestingly enough, this bottom 3 did stay the same, just in a different order. And I know a lot of people were quite disappointed with Umari and the screen time she got, but I think her whole character and her whole deal was really well done and well executed despite the little screen time she has. I think she's one of the most efficient characters in the series, if that makes sense. Like, in terms of their writing to screen time ratio, it's really efficient, and it's really, like, no second is wasted. And I kind of think that for most of the characters, but with Umari in particular, when she probably has the least screen time out of anyone in the series, it is very crucial that not a second is wasted, and it is very much the case with Umari. I like it. I love her design. I love her whole deal. I love Mei-chan's voice acting as well. It's so funny seeing how her in real life voice is so different and so high pitched compared to the Umari tone that she uses, and how also the Umari tone has evolved through the series. You look at Umari's first scene in the anime in MyGO, and she sounds completely different to now. It's just super funny how that's a thing. And even Mei-chan on TV Live, you can tell her voice has gotten deeper because of her role as Umari, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I really love Umari. She's one of the characters I kind of relate to more in the cast, and that's a thing I kind of noticed with MyGO and Mujica in general. Is I don't have a singular character that I'm like, wow, I relate to them so much. I'm like, they're literally me. It's more in every single character in the cast there is an aspect I relate to and see myself in, which is really cool, because which obviously makes me love the entire cast that much more. But yeah, Umari's whole deal with her kind of disconnect from the band and her peers is really interesting, because it's also shown in a meta sense through her screen time and her relationships that she creates on screen, because there like pretty much is none apart from with Nyamu. And I just had a brain fart because I just realised there's something about Nyamu I wanted to talk about quickly, was how little, or the role that Nyamu's in is interesting, because she's a entertainer, performer, but she is someone who will mould to what the audience wants and what the audience's standards are, which is interesting because the characters who are performers and who are in that sphere in particular don't usually do that. It's usually the producers that influence them to do that. So I think that's just an interesting aspect of Nyamu that I didn't mention, is her relationship with the audience and her relationship with her own presentation in that regard, because she's not, I can't really think of a character like her who is in the business she's in that has the view of entertaining and art as she does. But yeah, anyway, back to Umari, because that kind of came into my mind quickly. But back to Umari, I do love her whole deal with the band, and how since that flashback, that event where she thought she was making connections, and it's a case where she doesn't even realise how stunted she was originally and how she wasn't reading the situation well at all originally, because I mean in that flashback it's so obvious that none of the people there were enjoying themselves, and yet Umari was convinced that that the whole band was enjoying themselves, but they quite clearly weren't. So when it all comes tumbling down, it's like, oh my god, like I do not want this to happen again. So instead of placing all my eggs in one basket, I'm gonna scatter them about as much as I can. I have all these backups, I have all these options and different places I can fall back to, but none that I'm really committed to, and none that generate or that build any genuine relationships with anyone, because it's like kind of, I was trying to think of a good way to compare it, but I really can't. So we're just going to continue without comparing it. But you know what I mean, where she kind of, by placing her eggs in all these different baskets, there isn't a single if we were going to compare it to eggs actually hatching and being raised, if she has all these eggs in different baskets, she's not going to have a singular chick that she has a particular attachment to. So all these chickens may be raised, but none of them she can particularly go back to or say like, oh yeah, I love this one a lot. It's just like, oh yeah, these are all things that I'm nurturing but not really connecting to. What a weird comparison. But yeah, and I really like that, and I really like how it's, like I said, is shown through Umri's presence in the show. And I know a lot of people would kind of consider that a cop-out with how her writing was handled and how her character was handled, but I just think it works really well, and I think it's something that shouldn't be ignored given how meticulous this series is with its writing and its planning and its details and everything like that. But regardless, and then we get Umri post episode 8, and we find out that she's kind of just a bit of a goofy Uber, and she's just like a silly girl, and it's just fun. It's just super fun. We also find out that she possibly has an eating disorder, which I can definitely see be expanded upon in the game. It feels like something that almost was set up to be expanded on in the game or in season 3. I do forget we're getting more of this, which is ridiculous or insane to think about, but yeah, we are getting another whole season of this, which is insane. But yeah, this the eating disorder stuff in particular does feel like something that can be executed well in the game. But Umri is so much more complex than people realise, and it's funny because a lot of people view her as just this comedic character, and the show leans into that. She is presented in a way where it's often hard to take her seriously, but by falling in line with what the show is kind of is presenting her as. You're kind of falling for what the show's doing, and falling for their whole thing that, yeah, she's hard to take seriously, but that's kind of the point. And if you're not willing to look beyond that, you're not taking her at face value, where she is actually trying to be as genuine as she possibly can, and kind of trying to make these relationships despite how awkward and weirdly she does it. I mean, post episode 10 Umari is fascinating, especially in 8, 9 and 10, because the way she interacts with people is so forward and so so forward and so kind of abrasive. It comes off as really weird and uncomfortable, because especially with the scene with obviously Mortis, where she's framed to be manipulative, she has no intentions of actually manipulating Mortis. From her perspective, she's completely genuine, which is fascinating, because it does not come across that way at all. But she doesn't know anything else. She doesn't know any better. So this is the only way she is trying to create these relationships, and it's just coming across to the audience in particular, who has this omniscient view, omniscient, you know the word I'm thinking of, view, where we're seeing her interactions with all these characters, and it's like you're weird, like you're coming across really weirdly, and you don't really notice it. And that's fascinating to me, because her social skills are about as good as Mutsumi's and Tomri's, but it's presented in such a different way, and almost in like the opposite kind of direction to them. And yeah, I really do love her character. Like I said, I love her dynamic with Nyamu. I really love her dynamic with Taki, and that duo. Oh my god, they feel like such a genuine friendship, and they have such genuine interactions and banter that it doesn't feel like they're written. And I think that's something really valuable in a show like this, that can feel really dramatic and very, I was going to say manufactured, but that's not the word at all. Basically, it can feel very melodramatic and exaggerated, but Umari and Taki, their relationship feels just so real, and so it's so interesting, because we have no idea how they met. I'd love to know how that first interaction between Umari and Taki went, because how are those two characters even ending up in a situation where they talk to each other? How are they ending up in a situation where they go beyond that first interaction? So God, I really do hope we get that. And like I said, I mentioned how screen time I think is really efficient with Umari, and how it plays into a whole deal with not having a genuine relationship with anyone, but I do hope she gets more time in season 3 and more focus in season 3, and that would in turn lead to more Taki focus in season 3, because obviously they're pretty intertwined. And that leads us nicely on to the 7th spot, who is Taki, and who is still in the same spot as she was in MyGO. I'm going to keep things short with Taki, because I have literally made a 30-minute video analysing her and talking about her and gushing about her, because I think she's super underappreciated as a character, despite, similarly to Umari, not getting a whole lot of screen time. Well, she does get a lot of screen time, but she doesn't get much focus, and she hasn't got any kind of significant or substantial backstory to elevate a character. Not that you need a backstory to elevate a character, but in Taki's case, where a lot of her personality and her entire thing is defined by her past. But yeah, just go watch the video. Go watch the fucking 30-minute essay video. Stick it on 2 times speed, whatever. Come back, and those are my Taki thoughts. And to be honest, I can't be bothered to reiterate them, because I'm not going to be able to do it as eloquently and clearly as I did in that video, which is obviously I planned and scripted and written and rewritten. So if you do want my genuine and more expanded thoughts on Taki, go watch the video. But for something short and sweet, I love her. I love her design. I love her attitude. I love her relationship with Tomri. I love her relationship with Umari. I love her relationship with Soyo. And I love her relationship with Anon and Rana and Saki. And a lot of the characters, and most of the characters, even Mutsumi, she has interesting a relationship with. She's quite a core of the series without really seeming to be, and I just think she's a really interesting character that isn't given enough credit compared to others. So that'll do for Taki, because that's fucking 30-minute video, and I think we're about 30 minutes in this video. There's a whole length of what we've fucking watched so far on me talking about her. So go watch that if you haven't. And if you have, go watch it again. And if you have watched it again, go leave a like and go comment, whatever. Taki, she's awesome. So now we'll go on to number 6. And I think it's, at this point, it's still the same as MyGO. So the whole bottom 5 and top 5 are actually the same, but just reordered. But Tomori, wow. I mean, she's probably the most popular character here in the West. I mean, unsurprisingly so, given how genuine she comes across and how genuine the portrayal of her neurodiversity is. There's just not a character quite like Tomori anywhere, and the way she struggles so much to communicate her thoughts. The only way she can do it is on stage through her lyrics. And how, despite how the series portrays her and presents her as this kind of almost innocent protagonist who can do no harm, she's incredibly selfish, but her selfishness manifests in a way that benefits others. And I was speaking about this with the person I rewatched it with the other day, but we are so lucky that Tomori has such good and pure intentions and thoughts and ideas, because if she had the selfishness that she has and the stubbornness that she has now, but was not good at heart, was not a good soul and a good person at heart, good God, she would be trouble. She would be trouble in ways that Minami Mori is trouble and Sadaharu is trouble, because her selfishness and her stubbornness really does know no bounds, and it drags everyone with her, whether they like it or not. And she has just beautiful dynamics with almost every member of the cast except probably Umri and Yamu. I mean, the way she contrasts Wika, just the genuine friendship of her and Anon, the complexity of her and Soyo, the messiness of her and Taki, and Tomori Sakiko, that relationship, cinema. Like, I mean, I'll talk about it more when I get to the dynamics video, but there is nothing quite like Tomasaki. They're the heartbeat of the story. They are what started everything, and kind of what ended everything. But anyway, we're talking about Tomori in just Tomori, and yeah, I really, really do adore her character. And yeah, here she is sitting at 6th in the list of the 10 characters that we have. But yeah, she's just brilliant. She's just incredible, and Hina Yumiya just such an incredible incredible job of voicing her. And I mean, obviously beyond just voicing, the singing, her lyrics, the emotion, the everything that comes with MyGo songs and Christchurch songs, and Tomori's lyricism and emotions he pours out into her vocals is just, there is nothing like it that I've heard in music. The emotions that Hina Yumiya can produce with her voice. And Tomori is just such a special character that, obviously, like I said, I don't really relate to her deeply. There's parts of her that I can relate to, like the struggle with kind of connecting with anyone, the struggle with communicating your feelings and traversing society but I know there's so many people that resonate so deeply with her, and she's just a beautiful character. That, I mean, if you dislike her, if somehow someone's watching this video and you dislike her, fuck off. Like, what are you doing here? But anyway, she's great, and she's what she represents MyGO more than anyone else in the series, and I'm getting a bit speechless talking about Tomori, because I feel like words cannot do justice how incredible this character is, and how much she moves me and moves the masses, and her influence. She's a star. She's just the greatest to ever do it, and yet she's number 6 on this list. So I think I'm going to move on, because I'm generally struggling to articulate my thoughts about Tomori right now, which is a shame, because there is so much to say, but there's also so many people who have said a lot of things about Tomori, so it's really not hard to find that interesting, more expansive thoughts on Tomori. But now we're in the top 5, and I want to clarify that Mutsumi and Mortis, I'm going to put them together, because I don't really want to separate them, even though obviously I know they're 2 different characters, but I feel like I can't put one without the other. And I think they actually will go at number 5. Which is funny, because I had Mutsumi at number 4, I think, or 3. No, I had it at 4 before Mujica. Mujica comes about, where she's the character that almost, I think, has got the most focus on Mujica, yet she's gone down, which isn't a testament to her character, it's a testament to the characters above her, and how much I love them. So yeah, Mutsumi was a character that I always loved, before we even knew anything about her, and I don't really know what it is about her. It's a mixture of her design, her design especially, and her kind of mannerisms and voice, and how quiet she is. I don't know, she's just quite alluring and interesting and compelling to me, without really doing anything. So in MyGO especially, she was just kind of more, I loved her of vibes, of a vibe-based kind of love, but now I can really appreciate her as a character. The portrayal of DID through her is incredible, and it's clear lots of research has been done, and it's clear more research will be done. I know the director quoted an analysis from someone who has DID, was analysing Mutsumi and Mortis, and the director quoted it saying how he learnt a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that person's analysis influence the events of Mutsumi and Mortis in the future, in seasons and in future content in the game, which is awesome, which is really cool to see. But yeah, Mutsumi's arc and the involvement of Mortis in Avemujica is beyond anything I could have imagined for her character. I knew going into it that she was going to get a lot of focus, because she's a Kreischick member, first of all, and the closest to Saki, so it was inevitable that she was going to get a lot. I also knew that Yuzumoon said that it was her hardest voice acting performance ever, so I was like pretty excited for that. Obviously that was episode 3. And yeah, obviously all the promotional stuff with her in Kill Kiss, the images of her, which we now know is Mortis. And my god, did her arc not disappoint, because it's very clear how much the director loves her in particular, given the amount of screen time she gets and the amount of focus she gets and the conclusion she gets. A lot of people were very worried that Mutsumi and Mortis were going to fuse, but they didn't. Mortis is still alive, and I'm excited to see more of them, and more Mutsulings in the future, more personalities of Mutsumi that were repressed before now, that have now come back to life and have been given life previously from being dormant. So yeah. But Mortis, wow. What a character. What a tragic character and a tragic existence that she has. as someone who only lived to protect Mutsumi, did almost everything wrong in her naivety and her immaturity, causing the one thing that she loved the most and existed for to end up hating her, having to internally fight with each other throughout like the whole second half of the series. What was going to be the first? The contrasting personality of Mutsumi and Mortis, the contrasting goals. Another small detail is how it's so obvious when it's Mortis and when it's Mutsumi. There are design differences and details, like Mutsumi kind of having, Mortis having these sharper features and these bigger, like bug eyes. Obviously the voice as well and the mannerisms. You see it when Mortis tries to imitate Mutsumi, that she gets the voice down in episode 10 or end of episode 9. She gets the voice down, but the expressions and mannerisms aren't very Mutsumi-like. And yeah, like I said, I love her dynamic with Nyamu. I'm not very, I don't say knowledgeable, but I don't quite understand them as well as other people do. But despite that, they're very compelling to me. And I really do love Mortis' character just as much as Mutsumi, of course, and how tragic she is, how she clashes with Sakiko, how immature she is. It's so obvious that she does not have the experience, the interpersonal experience, the life experience that the other characters have, and it shows. And I mean, now I can talk about how incredible her dynamic of Soyo is, and that whole thing, which I'll get to a bit more when I get to Soyo. But and obviously Mutsusaki, also another kind of tragic relationship, almost as tragic as Rika and Sakiko, but in different ways, in really interesting ways, because they've always been by each other's side, unlike Rika and Sakiko, but there's always been circumstances preventing them from really ever being, not being genuine with each other, but really connecting past a point. And the way Saki treats Mutsumi in those first few episodes, and then Mutsumi's selfishness with Kreisek, and the way Sakiko feels obliged to deal with that and honour it because of what Sakiko did to Mutsumi. It's amazing. It's so compelling. It's so incredibly well done. But yeah, Mutsumi and Mortis, the characters I've always loved. Oh, I forgot I was going to bring the plushies out. But I have Taki, Rana and Yamu there. They're sitting on my shelf, but we've talked about them now, so we only get Mortis. And yeah, I really do love this character so much. I mean, she's my Avi on Twitter and now obviously YouTube. But yeah, there's so much more I can speak about with Mortis and Mutsumi, but a lot of it is the complexities and the portrayal of DID, which I don't quite have the credentials to talk about properly. But like I said, there's people that have been talking about it a lot, and they do so really well, and educated me a lot on the condition and the character. But yeah, I love this. I really do love that character so much. She's one of the characters in the series compared to everyone else. I really feel not an affinity, but I wanna almost a kind of parental instinct with them, where I'm like, they've just been through so much. I just want them to live a happy life and protect them. Like, I don't have any kind of, I don't know, it's weird. She's always a character I've been really compelled by and gravitated towards out of everyone in the cast. And again, despite that, she sits at number 5. So we do have 4 more characters I somehow like more than them. And number 4, we have Soyo. She's a character originally in MyGO I liked when I first watched it, but I didn't really appreciate her character until I rewatched and rewatched again, and really where she shines the most is in all the scenes post episode 10 of MyGO, and how her character deviates from those kind of characters in other shows, where you have the character who's kind of been scheming and doing all these things under a guise that isn't real, and when their mask kind of slips and things go wrong, obviously all the things go wrong. Eventually they reconcile with who they were initially hurting, and they usually kind of mellow out completely and lose a lot of what made them. They lose a lot of the word was literally just in my head. I've forgotten it. Oh, that's annoying, because it was such a perfect word. But they are not as intricate and as interesting as they were before. Characters that aren't like Sawyer, that do the Sawyer thing, because they just become a bit flat and a bit boring. But Sawyer, after she does the whole scheming and all that bullshit she does up until episode 7 or episode 9, even episode 10, Sawyer becomes incredibly interesting after that, and is where her character really begins and becomes something for me, because she is still very much hostile towards MyGO in a way, and yet the kindness that she's always exhibited now is being presented more genuinely and expressed more genuinely. We see her kindness through all the first 7 episodes, but it always comes across a bit, are you just doing this to kind of because it's the right thing to do and the right thing to say? And part of it is yes, because she's just selfish and wants her own kind of way. There's a hair on my camera, and I don't know if it's been blocking the screen this whole time. I don't think so. I hope not, anyway. Oh well. And she, like I said, her kindness that we see up to episode like 7, 8, it's all very planned and very purposeful to kind of butter the other characters up and kind of get on their side and get things to go away. But at the same time, there is very genuine kindness there, buried deep in there. She's kind, but without the intent of being kind, and yet that kindness is still kindness, whether it has good intentions or not. It's still kindness. And what I love about post Ep 10 Soyo after the whole reconciliation is how that kindness still exists and doesn't even present itself as much as it did before that, because a lot of it was fake and exaggerated before that. But now it's so much more genuine and real that it just fucking hits. Like the scenes with Tomori and Taki and Anon. I mean, the scene with Soyo and Tomori on the bridge in episode 13 of MyGO is one of my favourite scenes in the whole show, and it's a perfect demonstration of everything Soyo is. And she's just such an incredible character. Again, an incredible voice acting performance from Mikan-chan, and I can't praise her enough. She was almost my favourite before Avemujica, and in even Avemujica, her role is so central. Is the way she takes on this motherly role with Mortis. This is like the one thing, or one of the few things in the whole show I actually predicted happening the week before. I was saying how, imagine, because of Soyo's lack of parental comfort and kindness that because obviously she now picks up those habits herself because they weren't present in her life, and she acts as that role in MyGO, kind of the motherly, kind of the strict motherly role in MyGO. And I was thinking, what if that happened with Mortis? And that's exactly what did happen, which is awesome because I got it right. And it's such an incredible direction to take Soyo's character, and kind of repent for what she did, for how she treated Mutsumi, is giving Mortis a reason to live, and simultaneously causing Mutsumi to reconcile with Mortis and recognize Mortis beyond just someone who can cause her harm, and humanize Mortis most importantly, because before kind of Soyo's involvement, Mortis is always presented as this creepy, antagonistic figure, and then we get episode 6 with Soyo's involvement, and it's like, well, no, this is just a broken girl who got ahead of herself trying to protect Mutsumi, and is now in a position that she can't, that is over her head, basically. She can't handle and she can't deal with on her own, and she's unable to make genuine connections because she's so fixated on protecting Mutsumi that when Mutsumi's gone, she has no reason to live. And Soyo acts as someone there for Mortis when these times are incredibly rough, and when Mortis is as broken as she gets, she has Soyo to lean on. And I love how the way Soyo treated Mutsumi is, like I said, the way Mortis and Soyo interact and their whole dynamic is I can't think of the words, it's late on and I can't think of what I want to say, but it acts as a redemption for Soyo for how she treated Mutsumi, and yet it's not with Mutsumi herself, it's with someone that means so much to Mutsumi about that Mutsumi doesn't even realise. And it's just so fucking good, and I can't rave more about that dynamic because it's so interesting. Obviously there's so much more. The thing is with all these characters is they have so many interesting dynamics that I can only touch upon in a little in this video, and it's hard to talk about them and gush about them without talking about their dynamics, because their whole character and the whole show is how incredible all these girls interact with, and their interpersonal relationships and these complex feelings and emotions they have towards all the different characters, and like every single character exists within the web of another, and it's hard to talk about them individually and kind of cast aside from the others. But yeah, Soyo is just such a fucking great character, and it's a shame that she got so much hate because she's just a girl, and the shit she was going through with Krychik it was everything to her at that point, and that is highlighted so much in the manga, in the MyGO manga. If you haven't read that, go read that, because oh my god, it's fucking like horrible and depressing and a punch in the throat every time you read it. Obviously by Yuama, who wrote The Summer You Were There, written on the art by Yuama. It's incredible, go read it. It gives so much more characterization to Soyo Soyo doesn't even need more characterization, but we get a whole manga focused on her backstory with Krychik and just how much that meant to her, and how much she felt alienated from society before Krychik, which is stuff that is important to understand, just how much Krychik meant to Soyo, and it's just amazing how she was able to say goodbye despite being so attached to it in an ugly way. It's just awesome. It's really awesome. And now onto the top 3. And now, we were already in all-timer characters for me with Mutsumi and Soyo and Mortis, and now we're in very dangerous territory. And third place, next to her girlfriend herself, is Anon, of course. Anon. where can I begin with Anon? Because to me, her character arc, and like I said, it meant similarly, Namu is incredibly tightly written and well done, but I don't find it as compelling as other arcs like Soyo's, Mutsumi's, Tomori's, hell, even Umari's. I would say I feel similarly towards. But Anon, similarly to Mutsumi in MyGo, to me, was such an incredibly vibes-based affection I have for her. There is no character like Anon anywhere, and it's a mixture of her mannerisms and her silliness and her incredible voice, tattooed in an amazing voice. I could listen to her talk all day. And she's a character I really can't explain why I like her so much. But from the moment I finished MyGo, from the moment I started MyGo, I felt an affinity towards her. And I do relate with her kind of backstory and her whole deal that she was an overachiever in middle school, so she kind of got aspirations a bit too big for her boots, and going from a large fish in a small pond to a small fish in a big pond, and how you get like humbled that way, and how all of a sudden you're not the best person, and you're not the most talented and the coolest and the most loved. Like all of a sudden you just get kind of shot back down to earth, and the way she wants to forget about all of that and kind of erase it and act like it never happened. It's compelling, like it resonated with me. But I like her for reasons that aren't that. Obviously, they're obviously they're part of why I like her, but I couldn't tell you why I love her so much. And maybe it's her kindness, her like, and I mentioned this in the other tier list video, it's her selfish form of selflessness. And no, a selfless form of selfishness, where her ego and her narcissistic tendencies end up actually benefiting other people and basically just kind of cause good things to happen to other people, because at her heart, at her core, she's just a gentle, kind human that wants to see other people flourish and succeed and be the best person they can be. And obviously this is demonstrated through Tomori especially, and her whole relationship with Tomori is so beautiful. But the way the whole Kreisig stuff was handled in Mujica, and I know a lot of the Chinese fans were upset at Anon and her treatment, but for me, that whole part of the story and that whole Anon's involvement in that is it like personifies her character like so perfectly, and how just kind she is and how pure of heart Anon is, despite coming across not as such at all, because it's something, pardon me, that she often would like shrug off or kind of disregard or not take seriously herself. The show kind of presents her as this goofy, comedic character. Almost, the show kind of presents her in a sort of kind of dumb way, and she's far from it. She's incredibly like talented and headstrong and socially aware and educated and all those kind of things. She's such like I mean, how fast she picked up the guitar for one is talent, is natural talent. She's gifted in that regard. Even with all that practice, it's impressive. But I just love how the show presents all these aspects and these positive aspects of her in a weird way where it's really not apparent, and it's easy to kind of take the piss out of that and joke about how stupid she is, or how just, I don't know, I think, yeah, how kind of stupid and dumb she is, but she's not at all. That's the thing, is that she's not. You're falling for her gimmick, you're falling for what the show's doing by talking about her and acting that she is that way, because she's not at all. And like I said, her whole involvement with Krychik, and how she was just happy to see those people reconcile and get that closure. She was just happy to see that, and she was pushing that, and she was making sure that happened. I mean, if a lot of the things that happened in MyGO 6 and 7 happened, no, not MyGO, no, Mujica 6 and 7 happened before Anon, in, like, if we're talking about MyGO Anon in the situations, she wouldn't have handled them very well. But she's been through so much, and most importantly, she can trust Tomari and MyGO as a group, and before she couldn't really. And I just think her whole relationship with the characters is beautiful. Her and Soyo, incredible ship, incredible fan art. Her and Tomari's and Taki, and her parallels with Saki. She's just such an incredible character that is really, really popular, especially in China, popular in the West as well. And in Japan, she might be, along with Saki, the most popular character in the series. But I still don't think people appreciate her writing enough, and how complex she is, and how she's so much more beyond what she shows of herself, and what is on the surface. And she's just awesome. She's just the best. I don't know. She's a character that I can't articulate my thoughts on very well, or gather them very well, because they're so I don't know if malleable is the word, but they don't really hold a solid kind of state to my thoughts on her. And I just know for a fact that I love her, and she's just an awesome character. And something like I showed before, she was my favourite before Avemujica. So yeah, that's Anon. Awesome pink blorbo that is just the best, just the greatest. I love what she brings, her vibes, the atmosphere that she creates when she's in a scene, everything about her. Incredible character. And now we're on to the top two. And number 2 is Weaker, or Hatsune. I mean, what can I even say about Weaker and Hatsune? Before MyGO, obviously she was high in the list. I think I put her 5th. Not before MyGO, before Avemujica. And she interested me so much, probably just as much as Mutsumi, and a lot of that was stuff from the live intermissions and her as Dolores, and her whole deal she had there. That fascinated me, and her obsession with Saki fascinated me. Where does it stem from? Why does she feel this way towards her? And the lyrics that she writes for Avemujica, why are they so dark and so... I mean, they're just in complete contrast to Tomari. And throughout Avemujica, she is barely present until episode 9. And I love the way they handled her character, and they handled the mystery around her. And her, like, that section of episode episodes, I think it's 5 till like, or at the end of 5 till 8, end of 8, where she just doesn't exist in the story. She just doesn't exist. She's not even mentioned or brought up by any of the characters, which in and of itself is tragic, because the show tries to make you forget about her, but the characters themselves have forgotten about her. She doesn't have a genuine relationship and a genuine connection with any of these characters where they would go out of their way to see if she's alright, or think, I wonder how Mujica's doing after all this. And when it all comes crashing down in 9, and then into 10, where it all comes back together, and then it all comes crashing down again in 11, and then it all comes back together again in 12, and it's just the roller coaster that is her character from episode 8 to 12. I mean, that whole backstory episode, I mean, if you saw the previous video, you know how I feel about that. It's incredible. And her relationship with Saki, her feelings towards Saki, are so tragic, and a product of the toxic environment that she grew up in, the patriarchal society and family that she exists within. It's just fascinating, and it's so like it's really frustrating for when that whole thing was revealed, that people disregarded her character all of a sudden and disregarded the show, when there's so much that's being communicated through those incestuous feelings that Mujica has for Saki. But I mean, kind of understandably so, when you first a lot of people, when they first would have heard that and saw that line, they would have instantly just tapped out, and at that point they were no longer engaging with the show genuinely. And I saw lots of very reactionary feelings and obviously reactions to that episode, that after a few days people are like, I actually now that I think about it, it's quite complex and interesting to think about, rather than just the fact that I feel disgusted at that is a good thing. It's something that you should feel, because that's the whole point, is that these are feelings that aren't good, and yet she's clinged onto them and latched onto them so tightly that she has nothing else except those, and her love for the stars. I mean, Weak as a character I could make a whole video on, but I'm not going to, because people such as Sign Hanamuk, the person who does the translations for Mujica, a lot of the Mujica stuff, they talk about them every day, all the time. They have a firmer, they have a more they're a lot more obsessed with them than I am, and their thoughts. I wouldn't feel right making a video. I mean, not that I wouldn't feel right, but I would always feel in the shadow of their thoughts, which is a weird thing to say and a weird thing to admit. But when there's someone who so clearly is obsessed with a character to the point where I don't want to say understand her better, because there isn't really that kind of understanding of there is all subjective, but I'm just going to leave all the weaker and fascinating stuff to them, because they express themselves in a way that is so genuine and so interesting about her character that they're really worth reading. And Mujica is just so compelling to me, and her whole deal, her whole upbringing, the way she clinged on to Sakiko and those feelings, the way the show handles it, it's all trying to even think about it and put it simply and into words now is just frying my brain. this late at night as well. It's like, it's too much to even think about. Her character's just incredible, and I couldn't have asked for a better direction for her to be taken in Mujica, especially how excited I was for her character in MyGO. And Rikoshi, just Sasuke Riko, what an incredible voice actor, and what an incredible passion that she has for the character as well. It really comes across in her posts and the way she talks about her in interviews. Like, all the characters in this series are the voice casting is perfect for them. I couldn't imagine anyone else playing them. But with Tomori and Uika in particular, like Hina Yumiya and Sasuke Riko, they are like, I don't know, they're just staples for them. Like I can't explain enough how perfect the casting is for them, for those two characters in particular. But yeah, Uika, Hatsune, awesome. I fucking love her. I love her dynamics of the characters. I love the way she contrasts other characters like Anon and Soyo and obviously Tomori. And she's just cinema. She's just cinema. And I now have to somehow talk about this blob, this creature, this god, this ethereal being that is Sakiko Togawa, and I don't know. I don't know. She's a character in the show that was a good character in the show, and I'll kind of. So I loved her whole deal with how every character in the show would put her on this pedestal. Pretty much every character in the show, be it Kiyotsugu, Tadaharu, Uika, Soyo, Mutsumi, Tomori, Taki, Nyamu, Umuri, Mortis even, and how that is deconstructed in episode 7 of Avemujica, and how all of a sudden she's humanized to the MyGO cast. I mean, even she's humanized even to the Avemujica cast in episode 9 and 10 a little, when they're all in that room and talking. But I love that aspect where she's put on this pedestal, and then episode 7 she's humanized, and you're like, nice, these characters can finally see her for who she is, as just a girl. And then episodes 10, 11 and 12 happen, and episode 12 ends with Sakiko saying, I will become God. And it's like, no, this isn't how it's meant to go. This isn't what you're meant to do. This isn't how development is supposed to go. Because what's supposed to happen is she's supposed to be humanized and grounded by everyone else around her, as she was by MyGO, and that's supposed to happen with the Avemujica cast, with Rika especially, with Umri and Yamu as well, especially. She's supposed to be pulled back down to earth and put on the same level, the same playing field as the others. But the show said, fuck that. We're going the other way. We're going all in on her ego, on this mask that she's putting on this front that isn't even a mask. I call it a mask, but it's still something that is ingrained in her, because she's grown up in a way where she's been put on this pedestal her entire life, that there is absolutely a part of her that can be like this. And it's such an interesting and bold direction to take a character of a girls band anime, because it shouldn't make any sense. A character should not declare themselves as God, as a figure such as God, and it feels so real and genuine, and like I'm like frying here, because anytime I think about Sakiko, so many thoughts and feelings and emotions and just things come into my head, and it's like, oh my god, this character is just one of the greatest ever to ever do it. And the only thing stopping a character like Sakiko from being like, from basically overtaking the two other characters that I consider my favourite characters of all time, Shimamura from Adachi Shimamura, what a surprise, and Saki Sayaka from Bloom Into You. Those two characters I love more than Sakiko because I deeply relate to them. And it's good. It's fortunate for them two characters that they have they're in a light novel, and you get all these inner thoughts. You get everything that they're seeing and feeling and expressing and thinking and everything. That's one of the things I love so much about the medium, is that you get all these details about them. So it's easier for me to relate to them if they are relatable, because I'm like, oh my god, this is characters feeling and thinking the same things I would feel and think, and it's like, oh my god, this is a lot. So those two characters are like the literally me characters, so they're on like a different kind of pedestal. But Sakiko managed to get close to them without me really relating to her that much. The only kind of part that I relate to with Sakiko is episode 5, when she falls into that kind of depressive state, and episode 5 and 6, and when she tries to like forget everything, cut everything off, emotionless. I really resonate with that, because there was a part of my life where I kind of went through that as well, and it hits me hard. But that is like the only part of Sakiko's character that I kind of relate to, and yet she's up there with those two, because she's just such an incredible. I can't think of the words, because he's just so fucking good that it's indescribable. It doesn't. She's a character that has been hyped up by the show itself, and was handled just perfectly in Mujica. Handled so much better than I ever could have imagined. The way her selfish brand of selflessness, in contrast to Anon's selfless brand of selfishness. And it's just too much. It's too much to even think about right now, even though that's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in this video, is think about that and express it to you. But alas, it's Sakiko Togawa. There is only so much I can say about God themselves, and I know there's going to be things the moment I finish the video that I'm like, oh my god, I should have said this, should have said that, whatever. But I just can't express enough how much I adore this character and how happy I am with the direction that she was taken, and this whole illusion and dreamlike world that she's dragged Avemuj into, and her willingness to protect that and protect the members of it, despite it inevitably being something that's going to come crashing down, and inevitably being something that the position that Sakiko's taken up is putting a wall between her and the other members, which means I'm messing up my words so much, but there's such a certain amount of distance that Sakiko can get close to someone else in the band because of this. And it's self-sacrifice of the highest order, where she is able to actually live on with these and have a life with these other people, yet she has to destroy herself her personality to create it. And yeah, she's just fucking awesome. And Nontan Takao Kanon just does a ridiculous job as voicing her, and how she comes across as her and talks about her. It's, I really cannot praise this character enough. I can't praise this whole cast enough, because it really has everything for me, and they don't fall into character archetypes that a typical cast would, or if they do, they are subverted and kind of deconstructed. And yeah, that's like, I don't think I have any more to say, because the more I think about Saki, the more things come into my head, and I'm like, and the more I'm being fried from the inside. And this video could go on for literally fucking forever. And one, it's late and I have work in the morning, and two, I'm not trying to upload like a 3-hour video of me talking about these characters, even though I'm sure people would probably watch it, but I don't want to do that right now. If I was going to do that, I'd make it a more structured video with a script and everything, rather than me just rambling and repeating the same words and the same things and what I've been thinking. But yeah, Sakiko, the fucking goat, Rika the goat, they're all the best. They're all amazing, and I love them so much. And I would love to know what you guys think of this list, as well as your guys' favourite characters, your least favourite characters, the characters you resonate with the most, the characters that maybe you're disappointed with. Please do feel free to drop your lists in the replies. I love reading them, even though I don't often reply. I do love reading them. So yeah, I think that's it. I feel like I've managed to keep this video as short as I can, which is still a long video, but I mean, there's just so much I can say about these characters, and I'm scared about the next tier list. I'm going to do the dynamics, because there is, I mean, one, there's so many of them, but two, there's so much I can say about them. So I'll try to keep that video somewhat short as well whenever I get around to it. But yeah, I think that's everything. And this is my list. And yeah, this cast is amazing. Just the greatest to ever do it. All those buzzwords, all those good things, you know how it is. I fuck with the show. You fuck with the show. And that's that. See you guys in the next one.